The food you eat, the products you enjoy, and the clothes that you wear, at one point or another, they're all delivered thanks to the contributions of a truck driver. In fact, according to LinkedIn, trucks are responsible for transporting 70% of all goods across America, making it the backbone of American commerce and the cornerstone to the country's economic health. It contributes over $792 billion to the country's gross domestic product, or GDP. It serves as a vital indicator for economic vitality, which places increased importance in the mental health and well-being of everyone associated within the industry. According to a recent survey conducted at the end of 2022 and the beginning of this year by Drive My Way, a recruiting platform completely dedicated to the needs of truck drivers, it found there's been a decline in overall driver happiness and job satisfaction. The results reveal only 51.3% of drivers report overall happiness within their current job and position within the trucking industry, which is down from 54.1% in 2019. The survey also indicated that the happiest drivers are also the most experienced. 55.2% of drivers with 8 years of experience or more reported high levels of job satisfaction. By contrast, only 43.5% of drivers with 1 to 2 years on the job and into their driving careers are reporting a high level of contentment during their 9 to 5, which is the lowest levels of any age groups. Mike Harts is someone who's been compassionately dedicated to the overall health and vibrancy of the trucking industry for over 20 years. During his 2 decades into the field, Harts has experienced every level of the industry, from being a frontline truck driver to the highest level of management within the company. He's got a wide wealth of authentic human and capital experience in the industry itself, and now he's on a mission to motivate, empower, and educate all levels of the trucking industry to be the best version of themselves. Think positivity meets transportation. He's fiercely committed to ensuring that the trucking industry is fueled by positivity, and he wants anyone who is willing to listen to know he still believes in the trucking dream. And he joined me this week to tell me more. I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. Fantastic. Well, Mike, if you're ready, I'll take a moment to welcome you to the program, my friend. And I'm super excited to learn all about your experience and life experience, both in the trucking industry and personally as well. So I'll wish you a good Tuesday morning, and it's great to see you this morning, my friend.
Good to see you, Kevin. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Now, Mike, I know that you work to motivate all aspects of the trucking industry to reach the fullest height of their own potential, sort of positivity meets transportation. So I'm wondering if we can start our conversation by you detailing your life's mission and why the trucking industry is so important to you, my friend.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be on the show. I think, Kevin, where this all started was a need to help people. And in the trucking industry, it's a very, I tell people it's a very negative industry, right? It's an industry where if you deliver something on time, you don't get a thank you. But if you mess up, that's all you hear about. Like, so it's one of those industries where we need positivity. And I started out as a dispatcher. I started on the what I've called the ground room floor. I started out just a little old dispatcher in a smaller company. And then from there, I saw a need to motivate and bring positivity to this industry. And since then, I've spoken to a bunch of different companies, a bunch of different conferences, and here I am today, at the better part of 20 years later, still in this industry, still loving it, still loving to motivate people, still loving to talk to people, still loving to have conversations like this, my friend. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit about my journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, Mike, you must feel that you have a bit of a competitive advantage when you talk to these trucking companies, since you've been on both sides of the aisle or both sides of the experience, my friend. So tell me, how do you use that as a source of connection when you go to talk to these companies?
Yeah, that's an awesome question, Kevin. I think, you know, when you talk to owners of companies like trucking owners, they're trying to see your knowledge base. They're trying to see how much you know. And with me coming from a background of knowing about drivers, knowing about dispatchers, knowing about operations managers, knowing about company owners, me running a company myself, I know about all facets of it. And I also know what it takes to motivate different individuals. So it kind of helps. And I would say anybody out there with any sort of experience, and if you want to get a different job or you want to take your life to a new level, I think all experience is relevant, and I think all experience is transferable. I think a single mom has transferable experience to be a leader. I think a single dad or someone with 5 kids is a part of a small tribe, so they could help run a company or they can help manage people. I think all experience in life is relevant and transferable. So wherever our audience is at in their life, they may feel like, man, I don't have any on the job experience and I really want this new job, or I really want to start this new career. You have the experience, but you just have to, understand that and transfer that to whatever industry you want to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike, I want to also talk to you about the concept of morale and allyship and how important it is to really boost the morale of the trucking industry. And then overall, how do you view the importance of allyship? And what I mean by that is, how important do you think it is for others to really support this industry and industries in general that they may not be accustomed to from a labor relations standpoint?
Absolutely. Awesome question. I think I think the trucking industry is kind of one of those industries where not a lot of people know about it, but everybody uses it. Like everybody uses everything comes through a truck. Everything, I always tell people, all of our goods that we have came on a truck or came through a trailer, came through some sort of mode of transportation. The chair we're sitting on, the headset you have on, the computer we're talking on, the microphones, the watch you have on, the shirt you have on. By the way, you look fly, man. You're looking good today.
Well, I appreciate that. You do too, my friend.
Thank you. The awesome glasses you have on. Everything we have on, everything we have comes by the mode of transportation. So I think we all use the trucking industry. We just don't know about it. That's why I think we need allies in our industry. We need people fighting for better rates, fighting for better loads, fighting for the drivers, fighting for dispatcher mental health. I think we need people fighting for all these different things, because in our industry, a lot of people don't understand how important the transportation industry is. Once I was doing a recording the other day, and I made the statement that if the trucking industry goes down, then the country goes down. And if transportation, if the truckers decided to go on strike, if the dispatchers decided to go on strike, we wouldn't have any goods. We saw what the impacts of coronavirus, COVID-19, how there was no paper towels on the shelf, how there was no toilet paper, because we saw the importance of supply and demand. We saw the importance of the supply chain, and it brought everybody's attention to the trucking world. And that's how important trucking is. And we need allies. We need people speaking up for us. We need people speaking our name in rooms that we're not in. We need allyship in the trucking industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And my friend, I'm going to bring it back to a local example for myself. So, Mike, I live in Windsor, Ontario, Canada, which is the city, as you know, right across the river from Detroit. And when we saw the international truckers strike in my region, certainly the economy screeched to a halt until it was over, my friend. So tell me just how important, when I tell you that the trucking industry is the backbone of the economy, I'm curious, what goes through your mind when I make that statement?
I think there's no truer economic statement than that. There's no truer economic statement than the statement you made, Kevin. I mean, I think a lot of people look at truckers, I'm going to be honest, a lot of people look at truckers like second-class citizens. They look at truckers as you know, we drive by truckers on the road and we go, oh man, those guys and this and that. Those ladies and gentlemen in the trucks are carrying the parts to the cars that we have, are carrying the automotive parts, are doing so many things that we don't know about. So I always say in my videos, thank a trucker. Thank a trucker. When you see a trucker or you see somebody in the transportation industry, just like we thank military veterans, just like we just celebrated Veterans Day in America not too long ago, last week. And one of the things I'll say is thank a trucker also. As we celebrate our veterans, as we celebrate those honorable men and women who serve our country, let's also, on different days of the year or throughout the year, let's also celebrate truckers, because truckers need to be celebrated for the amount of backbreaking work that they do to hold up the North American economy, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike, how do you think senior leadership can be an ally to the frontline workers in the trucking industry?
That's right. I think leadership in general, and leadership that comes from governments, leadership that comes locally, leadership that comes inside the trucking companies. I think leadership in general is important. We need strong and good leaders. And we also need positive leaders. This industry is negative enough. The economy, all we hear is differing news. Some people, the economy's amazing. Some people, the economy's bad. It just depends on what political side you're on half the time when you get the economic news. And we need good leaders to speak to the transportation industry and the economy as a whole. We do need great leadership. And I think there's a lot of great leaders in trucking. They just need, we just need to highlight and be allies to their voices. But yes, I think leadership is super important in trucking.
And Mike, what are some industry insights the average person may find to be lucratively sort of interesting when we examine the trucking industry? What do you want the average person to know about the trucking industry itself?
I would like the average person to know, if you're trying to get in the trucking industry, which area would you like to get in? So we have a couple different facets of the truck industry. There's the driver job, where you go to driving school. They have them at a lot of our local community colleges and vocational schools, where you get a trucking CDL and you go take the test. That's one way to break into the industry. There's been a lot of great drivers that transition to front office jobs, like dispatchers and even owners of companies, owners of conferences and things like that. So you could start out as a driver. You could also start out as a dispatcher. The one thing I will say about being a dispatcher or a driver manager, which is the same thing, whichever word you use, a dispatcher or driver manager, you want to come in with a sense of knowledge. You need to know the trucking industry really well to be a dispatcher. A lot of people, if you're coming in the trucking industry just for money, you're going to fail, because truckers need knowledgeable dispatchers and operations managers. You can't just tell truckers about their load and read off a sheet of paper. You got to know what you're doing, because that's somebody's brother out there. That's somebody's sister out there. That's somebody's husband or wife out there. So that's another way to get in the industry, by being a dispatcher. And then there's ops managers, then there's company owners, and then there's different broker. You could be a broker, which is the third party logistics person that's in between the shipper and the carrier who carries the loads. So there's so many different facets, and we could go on and on. There's track and trace. There's all kinds of safety managers. There's all kinds of ways you could get into the trucking industry. But I would start out by getting an entry level position in some sort of trucking job, and kind of learning the industry so you can be of some value to the company you want to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Mike, I'm a huge believer that networking is the heartbeat of life, my friend. And I'm sure the trucking industry is no different. So tell me about the importance of networking and really meeting people within the industry, and how important that is to success.
That's awesome. I think I like to say trucking companies are like churches, where they're on every corner, right? But sometimes we don't even speak. Like, there can be a church on the corner and you don't even know the name of the pastor. You don't even know the name of the leader that's there. Trucking companies, there could be 4 trucking companies on the same block, and we don't even speak to each other. The power of networking is, if a driver gets stranded in Windsor, Ontario, or a driver gets stranded in Tampa, Florida, if you had a network, if you talk to the driver or the company owner down the street, he may have a pool of trailers that is in that town you need, but you didn't open your mouth, because it's every man or woman for themselves. There's so much closed offness in trucking and transportation. We need to open up a network. The more we network, the more we have opportunities for everybody to eat, for everybody to spread this love, for everybody to spread the wealth. So I think your question is super important. We have to learn to network. I think there's so many issues and problems in trucking that a lot of us dispatchers and company owners just put our head down. You know, a driver just broke down, or the load just froze over, or the trailer wasn't secured and the freight, we got a claim on the freight because the freight fell off the back of the trailer or wasn't secured. And we get so involved and invested in the problems and the operations that we forget our brothers and sisters are right down the road, that if we network with them, they could possibly help us. There's so many trucking companies in America. There's so many trucking companies in America, in North America, and Canada and Mexico, that if we network, we could help ourselves be one big giant family and community.
Yeah, absolutely. That social capital is so important, isn't it?
That's right.
Absolutely, my friend. And tell me, we've talked a lot about the challenges in the trucking industry, but I'm also curious to flip the switch and ask you about why do you think trucking can be a lucrative and rewarding career at the same time?
Say that again, Kevin.
Yeah, I was just curious to ask you why you think trucking can be a rewarding and lucrative career, because we talked a lot about the negative or challenging aspects of trucking, but I'm also curious to ask you, how do you think it can be a lucrative and rewarding career at the same time?
That's right. I still believe in the power of the transportation industry. I still believe in the power of trucking. That's why I speak to trucking companies in North America and all throughout the land, because I still believe that you can start out by cleaning trailers in the back of your uncle's trucking company, and you can move to the CEO of the company. I still believe in the dream of trucking. I still believe that you can start out as a driver, and then you can turn into be a driver trainer, then you can be a dispatcher, then you can be an ops manager, then you can be a head of a company. I still believe in the dream of trucking. I still believe, I love the part about being a dispatcher, because you get paid better than being just a regular like office manager in a company. Trucking can be very lucrative. There's still drivers out there making good money. You just have to be in the right company on the right lanes, and you've got to love what you're doing. So trucking is a very, very lucrative industry. We understand, we could talk about the negatives of the transportation industry all day, how the economy's crashed in the transportation industry and the markets fell off. But there's still people making money. And like I always like to say, Kevin, that there is people who are going to be in this industry the next 20, 30, 40 years. There's drivers and dispatchers who've been in this industry for the past 40 years, and they're not stopping. So this is a great industry to still land in. I know a lot of people have negativity about it, but I still believe in the trucking dream. I still believe you can start out at an entry-level position and work your way to the top and make 6 figures and sometimes 7 figures. I still believe in the trucking dream.
Well, anything worth having is never easy to accomplish, right?
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And Mike, if I ask you to take a national survey of sort of the pulse of the frontline workers in the trucking industry, what do you think they would tell you about the current state of the industry, my friend?
I think if you took a poll of drivers, sometimes I go and I do take a poll of drivers where I'll go to a truck stop and just kind of get the heartbeat of what the drivers are feeling. Because if I'm speaking about these issues, I've got to know what they're feeling. And as I talk to drivers, I hear the same passion and I hear the same drive, but there's a lot of drivers that are concerned about rates, about what their family's going to eat tomorrow, what the economy is going to be like in a year from now. Are we going to be in a recession? Are we going to be in a depression? Is it because last year they were claiming it was going to be a recession and it didn't get as bad as they said? So they're kind of, when you're on the road for hour after hour after hour, sometimes your mind plays tricks on you, and sometimes you hear differing information. So I think drivers are the frontline workers in this industry, and I think they just want safety and security. I don't think they're greedy. I think they just want to be paid a fair wage. I think they want to be paid good rates, haul lighter loads, and if it's a heavy load, they want to get paid and compensated for the fuel. They want fuel costs to continue to go down. They want just norm. They want their home time to be correct so they can visit their family. They just want the basic amenities. They're not asking for too much, but I believe they still believe in the trucking dream. But I think they have some concerns where our industry is going. Do brokers really care? Do customers really care? And vice versa. Brokers have a thing about carriers. Can carriers be reliable? And shippers ask, can carriers be reliable? Can brokers be reliable? I think there's a play on both sides. Can we all trust each other to move this trucking industry forward?
Yeah, and Mike, if I asked you to tell me why compassion it can be sort of an ally word in the trucking industry, why do you think it's important to lead with compassion?
Yeah. As a man of faith myself, as a believer, as a Christian myself, Jesus always talked about compassion, and he always talked about how he was moved by compassion. And one of the things that I take in my daily life, and if I'm speaking to a driver, I'm speaking to a dispatcher, I'm speaking to a company owner, and they seem frustrated, I have to move in an empathetic way. I have to move in a compassionate way. I have to move in that direction because I have to walk a mile in their shoes and see what they're going through. I have to see what they're going through. While I'm there to motivate companies, I have to walk and move in compassion. And I think compassion is a key word to this industry. If we don't walk into compassion, when a driver is calling their dispatcher and the driver seems flying off the handles, the driver seems like they're flying off the handle and him or her is mad at the moment. The dispatcher has to understand it's not directed toward them. They have to have compassion that they've been out on the road all day, that they've been delivering the goods that we have on the table, the food we eat, the meat we eat, the steaks we eat, the groceries on our table. They deliver that stuff and they have that stuff. So we have to have compassion on them to understand that they go through a lot, and vice versa. We have to have compassion with each other and understand the plight of what is going on in each of our, there's so many different moving parts in each of the moving parts in this industry. We have to have compassion.
Yeah, and Mike, I want to go back to the pay equality and equity conversation just for a second. What do you think it's going to take to sort of close the gap of pay equity for everyone within the trucking industry?
Yeah, I think for years there was a racial gap in the trucking industry between the dispatchers and company owners and drivers. Like, a lot of our drivers that we saw in the companies were minorities or lower class, economic lower class, not lower class people as a human, but they were lower to middle class, and they were minority workers. Or if they were Caucasian workers, they were, at a low economic level as far as making money. And one of the shifts that I've seen over the years is more and more minorities in dispatch and operations manager positions, which, when we bring the middle class up in this industry and we bring the lower class to the middle class in this industry, and not only give them driver jobs, give them front office jobs and CEO of company jobs and head safety manager jobs, then everybody eats. Then everybody has a seat at the table. And I think this industry is moving forward, right? When I attend conferences and I see people, in Canada and in the US and Mexico, when we see people at these conferences, there's more and more minority workers that are spread out between driving jobs and front office jobs, which is a good thing. And one of the things that we do have to work on is the driver pay gap. I think if drivers continue to have these low rates, we're going to continue to see an exodus of whole carriers leaving this industry, and we have to watch out for that. I think rates have to be raised. I think brokers have to work with shippers to get better rates. I think we need to continue to pump in the economy. We have to continue to do these things if we want drivers to stay, and we don't want to have this big, huge pay gap that drivers aren't making any money and front office workers aren't making money. I think we need to, watch out for each other and look out for each other.
Yeah, and just building on that, Mike, I'm also curious to ask you, how do we create more diversity in the people that are being recruited to the industry? So how do we promote more inclusion in the industry as a whole?
I think people want to see people who look like them. I think people want to see people who look like them. I've been in every trucking company I've ever been in. I've been the only black man in that office. And I know things have changed a lot because, I like I just said, I go to these industry meetings and safety meetings, and I see a lot more minorities. But I think we can do a better job at that in promoting diversity. If trucking companies truly want to recruit a more diverse workforce, which they have throughout the years, if they truly want that, then we need more women, we need more people of color, we need more diversity in the office jobs, as well as continuing the truck driving jobs. I've been at companies where all my truck drivers have been black, every last one, and there was just a few white individuals. I've been at trucking companies where all my truck drivers were male, which means there's not enough female representation. So we could go round and round that representation matters. And then when they see me, they're like, wow, this is a breath of fresh air. There's a black man in the front office. There's a minority in the front office. This is great to see. They didn't mind that it being an all-white workforce. They didn't mind that. That's fine. But when there is diversity, my thing is, may the best person win. May the best person win. If a black man is the best person for a job, you got to hire them. You need to hire them. It's only fair, right? That's all I'm saying with diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike, here comes the big question. What do you think it's going to take to eliminate the toxic nature that exists within the trucking industry?
Man, that's my life work, Kevin. It's my life work. That's what I do. I have a dream, like Martin Luther King. I have a dream, my brother. I have a dream that we'll see positive trucking environments, that we'll see thriving trucking environments, that mental health will matter in transportation offices, that mental health will matter. And not just our bottom line, but mental health will matter for dispatchers. If mental health matters for dispatchers, then we're going to change this game. If positivity and mental health matters for truck drivers, we're going to change this game. If mental health and positivity matters for operations managers and heads of companies, we're going to change this game. It's going to be huge. I got a big dream that we can speak to trucking companies and bring in new environments, new ideas, new positivity. I know it may seem like a pipe dream. I know it may seem far off, but I still believe that we can change the trucking industry and be positive, but it takes tangible steps. It takes tangible evidence. Every time a dispatcher goes to another dispatcher and talks about their drivers, we're bringing negativity. Every time drivers go to a truck stop and talk about the company that they're at and talk about switching company, we're promoting driver turnover, and they're a part of the problem. So we have to understand there's tangible things we can do to promote positivity in the trucking industry, and we have to implement those things. Less gossip, less driver talk at truck stops, less CEOs and company owners talking about their dispatchers and talking about their maintenance operations. We have to do less gossip, less bad mouthing, more positivity, more talk about the good, more rewards for drivers delivering on time, more rewards for dispatchers being on the job for 20 years. We have to promote this environment. Then we can change the industry.
Yeah, Mike, I'm a huge believer that we make time for the things in life that we prioritize, both inside and outside of the office. So what do you think it's going to take to really put mental health at the forefront of the trucking industry?
I think it's going to take a change of mindset. So many dispatchers are it's going to take a change of mindset because so many dispatchers are depressed. Imagine hearing someone's problems all day long, getting issues from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. at night, just problem after problem after problem after problem after problem. My truck broke down. My load shifted. I have to go home on an emergency trip. My son or daughter has a game tomorrow. I need you to route me through home. My load froze over. I don't have straps. Can you buy me straps? I ran out of fuel. I need you to put this fuel stimulant in my truck because I ran out of DEF. I ran out of, it's always an issue that dispatchers hear. And no wonder why dispatcher mental health is finally being talked about. I believe there's 1.86 million trucking companies just in the US. 1.86 million. I believe that's the statistic. 1.86 million trucking companies just in the US. Right? And I believe in 2021 it was 500,000 trucking companies. Now it's risen even more. So in all 1.86 million trucking companies in the United States, we need a movement for mental health. There's so many depressed drivers. The worst call you could ever get is a driver hurt themselves in a truck. That's the worst. That is the worst call you can ever get. Another bad call is as a CEO, as a head of a company that you can get is that my dispatcher can't come in because they're so depressed. They can't take the job anymore. A lot of us leave the trucking industry because of mental health, because we don't feel supported. We don't feel like we can go to our ops manager or the CEO of the company and say, I'm bogged down with work, because we're afraid they'll say, you got to keep going. This is part of the job. You get paid $90,000 a year. You get paid six figures. You get paid more than a secretary. Why are you complaining? And if that's going to be the continued response for mental health, then we are not going to make any progress. We have to have doors open toward mental health when dispatchers are depressed, when drivers are depressed. We have to put mental health at the forefront. We need a monumental shift in companies. Over 1 million companies, we need a monumental shift, and I believe we can do it.
Yeah, and Mike, I know that you're a public speaker who talks on this issue specifically. So Tell me about the importance of authenticity when you talk to these trucking companies and your main message as well, my friend.
Yeah, people can, when you're selling something, people want to know you're authentic. People just want to know you're authentic. Like I got on this on the chat today, on the interview today, and I could tell you're a real man. You're a good guy. I met you. This is the first time me met. I can tell you're a good guy. I can tell you love what you do. You love interviewing people. You love keeping in shape. You love the physical fitness. You love being mentally strong. I could tell that about you. You didn't have to sell me anything. You didn't have to. I could tell in the chat what you know about me, how you studied up on the questions, what you know. You're a good dude, Kevin. You're a solid dude. You can tell. So people can tell who you are through how you present yourself. If I'm talking to a driver and I'm trying to use words above their head, or I'm trying to make them look stupid, or I think I have a preconception about drivers, or I think I'm better than them, then they're going to not respect me and they're going to see right through me. Because truth be told, some of the smartest people on the planet that I've ever talked to have been truck drivers. So I don't know where we're getting this bad idea that truck drivers are just terrible human beings. Some of the best people, some of the best relationships I have to this day are drivers that I've managed or been friends with. So I think we have to continue on in this journey of looking at people and trying to be authentic and just being ourselves. We have to continue just to be ourselves in this industry. Dispatchers have to be yourself. If you listen to rap music, listen to rap music. If you listen to country, listen to country. Whatever, whoever you are, be yourself. And everybody, the right people will find you if you're yourself and you're authentic.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mike, my final question for you this morning has to do all about your own personal and professional legacy, my friend, and how you want your legacy to be defined.
I want my legacy to be defined. Truly, I would like my legacy to be defined as, I want people to say he really cared. He really cared. He's an empathetic person. He really cared. He didn't just care about the job. He didn't care about just the surface level. He really cared about humans, because I really do. I care about what people think. I care about how people feel. I care about mental health. I care about if people are spiritually fed, if people are mentally fed. I care. I really care. And if people say at the end of my life, he really cared, then I lived a fulfilling life. I think in this industry, we get caught up so much in money and time and solving issues in the trucking industry. And I would like people to think of me as a person who cared.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And life is all about paying it forward, my friend. And tell me, if people want to get connected with you, what's the best way they can do that, my friend?
Thank you so much. They can go to MikeHarts.com. I have a podcast that I also launch. It's the Mike Harts Trucking Podcast. They can visit me on there. It's on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes Music, whatever the names, Pandora, everywhere. And visit me at MikeHarts.com. All my social media handles you can find on my website, MikeHarts.com. So I want you to visit me. I'm on X, I call it Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on YouTube also.
Fantastic. Well, Mike, I really enjoyed our comprehensive conversation about the trucking industry and how we can make it a better place to work, live, and thrive. My friend, your work in the space and time on my behalf this morning is most appreciated, and I want to thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Kevin. I look forward to talking to you more in the future. You're a really good guy, and you really have a nice platform here, and I really enjoyed. Thank you for welcoming me on, sir. Appreciate it.